Okay. So we go for this third day. It's okay. It's weird to come back again in this very frontal and above situation, but it's okay. We are coming in the third day of the program, and just before to arrive to the word of the day, just to go back a little bit to the title of these 3 days was Enacting Cultural Democracy, the Location of Culture. And the program proposed 3 days, 3 complementary days, and 3 displacements in the way to imagine what is behind the term of enacting cultural democracy, the location of culture. First day was to displace a little bit how are we entering in the context today, the question of noises, and to imagine how can we see, how can we displace, how we look, and how can we identify maybe a little bit differently what is at stake today. And more particularly with this question of not globalization, but multitude, which is a little bit different. The second day was to displace the question of spaces and places, is to say, okay, we have this multitude, we have this question of narration, narrative, and how from whom are emerging this kind of narrative, and where are the location, the spaces, the places, where it is negotiating, where is emerging, etc. And just for today, it's the third displacement, it's the question of voices, and it's to say there is not only the way, in the context in which we are living, is not only the spaces and the places that are changing, but also the voices of the people that can enter in such kind of negotiation. And it's not only to say that it's institution and institutional negotiation, but really to think about each one of us here are participating to creating such spaces and places, and how it's possible to imagine to give voices also to enter in that kind of discussion and enlarging the debate. And for the word of the day, because it's an interesting sport. For today, the word is negotiation, and it will be maybe more directly linked also to the 3 panels of the morning. Negotiation for us was very important, because if you want to think differently about democracy, if you point, it's to enact, it's to say to really come into life, to really do something, and really enacting cultural democracy, you need to create a space to negotiate this. It's not something that it's imposed from above. It's something that you need to negotiate from below, and something that you need to reflect, to debate, etc. And really to think that in a changing environment, it's not only a question of just negotiate the day-to-day, but we have to negotiate nowadays the question how we decide to reside in a space, in a global world that in which we are completely interdependent, and in which we are living in the same Finnish territory, even if the organizations are not like this. And we need to exchange values, meanings, priority, etc. Individually and collectively. So, and just a vigilance in this, it's to say that we need to really think about this in a different perspective. Otherwise, we can also just open a little bit. It's to say that we are reflecting about, we are living in a nation, we are living in a country, and we are just opening a little bit. So we are still living in a nation, but a nation more open. And maybe in this question of negotiation, it's also to say maybe we can think about negotiate a kind of transition to something that is more trans-country, trans-cultural, etc. And it's possible to define in common that kind of new space and trans space. And also the point for today in question of negotiation, it's we are in the middle of a transformation, a transition. So we are living in the old and inherent structure, that national structure, power structure, etc. And in the same time, we have emerging ones, and we talk about them the two last day, more self-organized, more organic, more plural, etc. And both are cohabitating. So in a negotiation, how it's possible to also think about this and the transition in between two worlds. And to do this in a way, in the middle of something that is uncertainty and stability and competing claims, because there is, as we said, since 3 days, we are kind of big struggle. So 3 points regarding negotiation that could be interesting to open. The first one is maybe to do that kind of transition, it's important to always negotiate, in English, on the boundary, it's at the frontier, and not to have block to block, because otherwise we cannot find an entry point, and it's how can we identify what are the frontier of in which we negotiate. Second, it's playing performativity, because when we are doing such a negotiation, so when we are creating such space, we are creating the fact that the subject is existing, because if you are saying that you are debating on something, if you are saying that you are negotiating on something, it's a kind of recognition of the fact that this exists. And when we are negotiating democracy, we need to really acknowledge that very different kind of perspective are existing today. And it's really working on recognizing, authorizing, and witnesses that things are emergent, things are different, and things are possible. And the last one is ordering pluralism, because it's very, at the end, we don't know how to do this. It's moved beyond relative and universal. It's building order without imposition, so very difficult also. And it's accept pluralism without forgetting common law, and that's also it's not so easy, because we're how do we negotiate these things? And it's important also because in Transmaking project, at the end we are creating such a space in between the partners. It's a kind of experimentation of such a space of transmaking negotiation. And so for this morning, we have a 3 round table, and it will it will speak 3 points regarding this question of voices and negotiation from different perspectives. First perspective will be the fact to ask the question from many different continents and places. Asia, Latin America, Europe, Africa, etc. So first, this second point is to enlarge and say that it's not only institution, it's not only diplomacy, it's every kind of actor engaging in such negotiation. And third one is to say what kind of negotiation can we engage, and what are the new way to imagine voices and raising voices. And so I leave the place to the first round table.